Do you believe in a Nintendo Switch Pro? Now, I can't really fault you if the answer is no, because this thing's been rumored for years. But last year it ramped up substantially, with the Bloomberg reports indicating that Nintendo was really getting the gears going. And then in September, Bloomberg once again reported that Nintendo had begun to ask developers to get their games 4K ready. Now, all the analysts seem to believe a Switch Pro is inevitable, but today we have some super interesting news as a data miner has dug within the Switch firmware itself and found rumblings of the very Switch Pro that we all have been so curious about. What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from SwitchForce. Today we're talking all about Aula, the new Switch model that has been referenced in the firmware, what exactly is different, what it means, and how likely it is to happen. Plus, that Monster Hunter Rise Direct appeared today, and it was quite delightful, and the demo is dropping tonight. So this is a good, juicy day for Switch fans, and it begins with Aula. So this popular data miner has dug through the firmware and found Aula, A-U-L-A. Now that's a strange word, and oftentimes these info dumps are pretty difficult to understand, so I'm going to make it real simple for all of you. There are basically two camps when it comes to Switch Pro. On one side, you have people that believe the dock will be beefed up and this will be a home console only Switch that draws its power from a new box. On the other hand, you have people who believe that the Switch itself will be supercharged, allowing for better performance and better play no matter where you are. And it kind of looks like Nintendo is doing both. Now, the Aula model will be using the same Marico chip as the Switch Lite and the 2019 Switch revision, which on the surface seems like such a big bummer. How are we going to get those gorgeous new graphics if we're using the same exact chip? They do say it'll be pushed to higher clock speeds, and the system as a whole will have substantially better cooling and battery life, but the same chip doesn't really sound very pro at all. But wait, the system is said to have an OLED screen, which will make portable play all the more pristine, and most importantly, it references a Realtek chip. That is a 4K UHD multimedia system on a chip that the data miner believes will be in the dock. So it kind of sounds like the best, almost best of both worlds. The Switch will still switch, it'll have a better screen, better battery life, nicer cooling, a little bit higher clock performance, and then you dock that bad boy and boom, Mario gets 4K. I think the ultimate goal would have been to have a Switch that looks amazing portably and does everything in its little form factor, but that was probably unrealistic. And I don't really like the idea of a Switch that just sits in its dock. I mean, that defeats so much the purpose of what makes the Switch so special. And yes, they have the portable-only Switch Lite and the switchable Switch, and then a dock-only Switch just kind of completes the trifecta, but I don't like that, especially if the Switch Pro is going to usurp the Switch as the main system. Now, if you could dock that bad boy and get better performance in Breath of the Wild 2, Monster Hunter Rise, Splatoon 3, Mario Kart 9, that would be the dream, and it would allow other developers and other publishers to push their third-party titles onto the Switch and just say like, yo, you gotta dock it? Is that a future where we're maybe heading towards where you have to dock it? There are games that can only be played portably. Can there be games that can only be played dock? Now that kind of sounds dicey, but the good news here is you know for a fact Nintendo will not be splitting the software library. Everything that plays on your current Switch will play on the new Switch, and that is the silver lining to the same Marico chip. Same chip most assuredly means that the software will cross over. Now, there could be enhanced titles that really need that dock to do their better work, but I can't see Nintendo making the same silly mistake they did with the new 3DS, where they put out a few games that only worked on the new console. It just doesn't seem to be in their wheelhouse right now. I don't think they're going to try to split the pool in any way. They love all of us in the pool, right? Dive on in, grab that Switch, get Animal Crossing, buy some Joy-Con, and maybe save up for a Switch Pro. You don't need the system, but it does provide more for the players that can take advantage of it with their big 4K TVs. And if you got a nicer screen on the Switch portably, it makes it the premium SKU. It allows them to come in at either $300 or $350 and say, hey, we are providing 4K, but you can also take it on the go. And that's the dream, right? If it can come close or closer to current graphics on other consoles and still go on the go, I mean, I think this is the best scenario for Nintendo. And it sure looks like it's the one they're choosing because it's in the firmware. Now, alas, it could just be stuff, right? Nintendo's put stuff before. They file patents all the time. They make trademarks and they come up with ideas. They research things that never see the light of day. But we've kind of felt that this is coming. Everybody believes it's happening in 2021. It makes sense the PS5 and Series X just launching. And now you have, from Nintendo's code itself, Aula. Better screen, better cooling and battery life, same basic chip, but a 4K enhanced dock that does wonders for Mario's cute little cap, Bowser's big horns, and that ink that sprays with all sorts of reflections in Splatoon 3. I really hope we get Splatoon 3. I really hope we get a Switch Pro. What do you guys think? Would you buy something with a beefier dock? And is there a world where if this happens, now this is the wild card, they could just sell you a new dock and you don't have to buy the new Switch after all? Is there an upgrade path for current Switch owners, or will Nintendo say, we want you to have to buy the whole thing all over again? It's probably the latter, but I pray for the former, because if you could just go in and spend $100 on a new dock and up your ante, grab that 4K capability for when you play on the TV, that's awesome. While we wait for the big Nintendo Direct, if they're ever gonna do a general again, which I really hope and think that they will, Capcom delivered a nice little Monster Hunter Rise presentation this morning, and that game looks hot. I don't think we're ready for the fact that one of the biggest games of the Switch generation is out in 2 months. March 26th, no delays, thank goodness gracious, and the game looks amazing. I'm super impressed with the visuals. They got these frozen isles that seem to borrow a bit from Monster Hunter World Iceborne, so many big monsters, and a terrifying one, the guy with the long neck. Like, dude, that dude is going to yank into your dreams, suck out the goodness, and spew nightmare fuel. I'm not a fan, but I'm such a fan of the fact that we get to play it tonight. The demo is dropping. There's been a bit of confusion whether it's the 7th or the 8th. It sounds like it's happening at midnight, probably midnight Pacific, so like 3 a.m. Eastern. It is a timed demo, meaning you got 30 attempts, and I know that's kind of a bummer. What is Nintendo doing? But it's happened before. Shrug it off. 30 chances to play this thing. The demo also expires on February 1st, which also is weird. Nintendo loves their timed stuff, but try to just set that aside and appreciate that a big new Monster Hunter is coming in 2 months. Like, this is going to be one of the biggest titles of 2021 for the Switch, and maybe one of the biggest titles of 2021, depending on how top tier it is. And they're looking great so far. Riding the wyverns seems incredible. You get to jump aboard and fight with the big beasties. You get to see the beasts clash with each other, riding with your friends, hopping aboard your little beasts. I think the game looks incredible, and the visual variety has upped the ante so much since the initial trailer. It's going to be massive, and I cannot wait to play. Stay tuned to the channel for all that coverage. Are you guys excited for Monster Hunter Rise, and do you feel like it's somehow slipping under the radar? Like, this is momentous, and I feel like nobody's talking about it. Between Mario, 3D World, Bravely Default 2, and Monster Hunter Rise, the Switch is actually having a killer Q1, even if Nintendo hasn't made much of a peep about the rest of their 2021 plans. And if this is how it starts, just wait to see how it finishes. That'll do it, my friends. Switch Pro getting closer and closer to a reality, with the Aula model being datamined within the firmware, a powerful dock that maybe provides an upgrade path, but at the very least allows for Nintendo to attract third-party titles that will be important to its continued success, alongside its first-party gems that might be playable in 4K by the end of the year. That is truly exciting, and tonight, if you can't wait, Monster Hunter Rise, you get to demo that thing, so download it, give it a go. Even if you haven't played Monster Hunter before, World was very inviting. Nowhere near as complicated and cumbersome as some of the past titles. It brought in a lot of new players, and I think Rise will be another great chance to say, hey, Monster Hunter, this is a sweet game. Giant monsters, epic combat, and the chance to play with your friends. So download that as soon as it drops. They never gave a set time, but I'm predicting midnight, and I'll see you guys all soon. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that like button if you did. Let me know your take in the comments down below. Stay safe, stay smart, stay healthy out there, and until next time, everybody, SwitchForce out.